here who are not of white skin that do exactly the same thing. They work here, they adopt it, they feel the Britishness, and it's great. But we have also imported elements that are toxic to our own environment.
Yeah. And if that's the case then, and as you say, just statistically, one of those is multiplying more than the other, statistically multiplying.
Yes.
What you say, it's over for Jews in Britain.
Yes, sadly. The reason is because, look, the UK has several choices here. I mean, the situation is only going to get worse on the street. Okay, it's only going to get worse on the street. I see a lot of, I mean, there was trouble in Leicester 2 or 3 years ago between the Muslim and the Hindu, but it's not just the Muslim and the Jewish population with the Islamists and the Jews, it's also with the Islamists and the Hindus, where there was trouble there. And you see a lot of crossover, for example, where they're trying to go for Zionism and what they call Hindutva. They're drawing parallels between Palestine and Kashmir, right? So you can see this is, it's an Islamist ideology. This is a political Islamist ideology. It's picking its battles based on the Islamist issue. So this element is only going to get worse here. It is, right? Because they are going to get more numerous. As they get more numerous, there will be more. I'm not saying all of them are bad, but wherever they are more numerous, there will be more new problematic people within them. They are beginning to feel their political muscle. We now see the rise of the Muslim vote. We've seen Gaza MPs come. We're now seeing the rise of your party. We're seeing a Labour Party that's going to be attacked both from the right and the left. We don't know yet how that will play out. The next election is something that none of us could possibly, begin to guess. So either the UK can turn around and just succumb, just drown in whatever sectarian nonsense is facing it, or we can see the rise of rebellion. We can see the rise of parts of the United Kingdom standing up and saying, enough. And that carries numerous threats for us. Some of that will be reasoned, rational. Some of it won't be. And, we're not living in the 1930s. So in a world of modern human rights and modern human rights laws, you have to basically fight fire with fire. So where they're coming and they're fighting us with human rights laws, for example, we're finding it more and more difficult to deport illegals, for example. An illegal, it's impossible to deport him because they're relying on human rights laws to hold him here. So there will be people looking for ways where human rights laws can be used to fight back against what they see as the threat, which is the Islamist community. That would be an attack, for example, we see it, the way people dress. Okay, well, if you start attacking the way people dress, so you're also attacking the people in Finsbury Park. Maybe you go after ritual slaughter. Well, if you go after ritual slaughter, are we being attacked? So we may feel these kind of pressures from a country trying to push back.
And part of that pushback seems to be going on around us in the support for movements like Reform UK at one end of the spectrum, and for people like Tommy Robinson and Unite the Kingdom and those movements. And then you mentioned the flags earlier, people putting up British flags, people putting up England flags across their neighbourhoods. All of these things have provoked a reaction from many actually in officialdom of disgust or shock. Why do you think that is then? Do you think that they are scary? And is there a less scary way for this to manifest?
No. I think officialdom will view them as scary. I understand why I understand, because there are elements of it that could possibly, potentially be scary.
But then there are elements on the other side that are scary, and that doesn't seem to bother them the same, right?
For sure, absolutely. But, and there's a big difference, when we see the flags go up, the truth is the majority of people in the United Kingdom are comforted by those flags. My belief. The identity of the United Kingdom, the majority of people, by far the silent majority, are there. They're not with the progressive left at all. We've been led down a cul-de-sac, and I see it as a cul-de-sac, by minority thought, progressive thought that has been pushing ridiculous positions on us that have been growing ever more.
Well, I was just going to say, because to jump in there with the flags, I think it's a pertinent example, because what's the movement I can think of before this raising the colours, flag waving movement? The one I can think of was, when did I last see thousands and thousands of flags going up? It was actually over the last 2 years, and they were Palestinian flags, they were PLO flags. And I would say that quite a large number of people had a negative reaction to those in ordinary British society, either negative or indifferent, not necessarily a feeling of warmth or closeness to that flag. And yet the government weren't afraid, the police weren't afraid, nobody in officialdom seemed to be afraid of what it meant that thousands of those flags went up, even though many Jewish people in neighbourhoods where they were going up said they felt that it was a kind of coded attack on them. They were told not to be so stupid. And yet, on the other hand, now we're seeing our own nation's flags going up. They're saying, well, we can see within the group of people putting those up, there are a few bad people. They might be racists or fascists. They might be doing this because of that. And actually, with those two very easily comparable examples, on the one side, there is something genuinely scary, and they ignored it. And on the other side, there is something which you're saying is predominantly not scary, and they're ringing alarm bells. I wonder if that's why the reaction, the rebellion, is getting more extreme, because actually the people who want to rebel against this are saying you only react when it's scary.
Yes, I mean, because the truth is these two elements cannot coexist. They can't. That those people waving the Palestinian flag, we know what they want, right? The people waving the British flag, we know for the most part what they want. These two are not going to coexist peacefully. So when you see the majority of people, and it is the majority of people, who would come out waving the British flag on the streets of the United Kingdom, that is a threat to the current order in a way that these, Palestinian flags are not seen. Now, just to push another example of this so it's better understood, we have, for example, Prevent. Now, Prevent is the government's, part of its counter-terrorism system. Since 2005, there have been multiple terror attacks by Islamists on the streets of this country. Multiple. Relentless. We know about them, and we're just starting at 2005, and we were lucky the second time 2 weeks later when the copycats failed, and there have been numerous failures. We had a guy walk into a restaurant in Exeter, for example. Nobody knows about him. He walks into a restaurant in Exeter, tries to detonate a pipe bomb, and a really nasty pipe bomb, with nails and all this in it. It didn't go off properly, so he only ended up hurting himself. These kind of things over and over and over again. Since 2005, there have been 3 deadly far-right terror attacks. 3. We had the one in Finsbury Park, we had the Joe Cox killing, and we had the Ukrainian who'd only been here a week. Right, so of the 3, one of them wasn't even a Brit. But the media and the powers that be want us to believe that the threat between Islamic terror and far-right terror is even.
Why?
Because it has to play into the multicultural, everything is working and everything is...
But why when it isn't?
Because if you wake up and face the truth of this failure, you realise how deep the water is. That's why. If we wake up now, and actually, what do you do about it? What are you going to do about the fact that within the 5 million Muslims or 6 million Muslims that are living here, there are a lot of them that believe very, very problematic ideologies? What are you going to do? Within our British culture, within our way of life, within the way that things currently operate, with a network of schools and unions that are totally captured by the far left, what are you going to do?
And so what are we going to do? Because there are people waking up, as you say. So some of them are trying to take a sort of popular street approach with the Tommy Robinson movement. Some are trying to take what they see as the most respectable political approach, let's say with things like Reform UK or even the other parties like Advance and what have you.
Yeah.
But then the other side, so to speak, is doing the same with your party and the Green Party now falling into that side of things. And then you add to all of this the phenomenon of the far left, who are actually also making strange alliances in order to pursue their goals.
Yes.
And for those who are awake, it seems like what you're saying is the only option is flight, not fight. They just have to go.
Well, they have to go. Well,
The people who are awake.